let's get into radio, sound, and podcasting. So, how many of you listen to podcasts? Give me I do.
I do.
Listen to podcasts? You do? What do you listen to?
Well, were you asking me or the other person who had spoken?
Whoever. Let me stop share so I can see y'all. I can't even see y'all. So, James, what podcast do you listen to?
I watched the I don't know if anyone else in class may know about it, but Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson's All the Smoke podcast.
Yes, I watched that as well. Mm-hmm.
And then a few of my friends who were Aggie alum, and a couple other Aggie alum, they make I don't know if any of y'all in this class watch anime, but they have an anime podcast called Anime Legion. And I mean, I'm not the biggest anime head, don't get me wrong, but, I definitely enjoy it, and I enjoy the conversation, and then, I just support them, so I watch it.
Sweet.
Listen to it, but yeah.
I like that. I actually just really got into anime like last year, so that's something I might need to check out. Anybody else? Podcasts? Let's let the class know what you listen to.
I listen to the Joe Budden podcast.
Joe. Okay. Why? What do you like about it? Are you into music, or what is it about the Joe Budden podcast that keeps you listening?
Mainly because of music or just like whatever's going on.
Okay.
I also listen to basketball podcasts and other sports podcasts. So, yeah.
Awesome. So that's great. That's great that you guys have a podcast. Podcast is like a major thing. You would think it's new, the way that it's really popped up here in the last 2 to 3 years in the industry. Podcasts have become a very popular thing, and anybody can do it. You know what I mean? And just because anybody can do it doesn't mean that you should not do it, right? Because there's abundance. You got to think anybody can listen to your stuff all over the world. I actually have a podcast for one of my web series, and I'll show you guys, kind of the analytics and how that works, and the things that you could get started today if you have a desire to start a podcast. By the end of this semester, or especially by the end of this particular project too, you'll be able to start your own podcast. All right. So what we're going to do, but not just podcasting. Podcasting is a close relationship, if we not say brother, sister, or at least cousins, to radio. Okay. And all this is a part of the multimedia. So we started out with history. We started out with print, right? We started with hieroglyphics, and those, turning that into a language. And then we went to print design. That's why you guys had your first project to be about me, right? Print and design and making that aesthetically pleasing, hierarchy and spacing and all those things we talked about. So now we're going to transition that to the next form of media that swept America was the radio. And the radio changed lives, just like the television changed lives. The radio, people being able to hear what's going on across the world. I watched a documentary a couple weeks ago about the Roaring '20s, and the one thing that they said is that, and we still see it today, how the radio brought in American heroes like Babe Ruth, right? He's just a baseball player, but it made athletes household names and American heroes, and we still see that today. Going through the COVID crisis, it was so important that we got sports back in, because sports, helps some people stay stable. Their routine, the big sports fans. You got your LeBron James and Kobe. We saw how the world reacted when Kobe passed away, and all these different figures. So, the media, radio, television, perception, all these things could, have a factor on how sculpting our culture, right? So, what we're going to do, we're going to go to a brief history of, radio. And then I will go into the details really of, what you guys should expect as far as your projects coming up. All right. So you have your terrestrial radio. All right, so that's what we all know. Your, 102 jams if you're in the Greensboro area, 97.1. Out here where I'm at, 106 is like the hip hop station. That's what we all have been used to. There's different type of formats, and when I have these formats, think about these formats as well. This is the same as podcasting, right? If we look at like the Joe Budden podcast, we know that's more music, right? We know that's more music, hip hop oriented podcast. But you have your news talk, sports talk, country, contemporary, rock and alternative, urban, right? Classical, religious, college. So all these things, not just like radio formats, that also can go for podcasting formats. Okay. And then you have your radio vocabulary, okay, rap, intro, in cue, out cue, tag, talent, tease, bed. You guys will know what all these are. Okay, I'm gonna go over these as we go, and I will send you this PowerPoint as well, so you guys will have it for yourself. So you don't have to worry about taking too many notes today. So I'm gonna leave it there. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but this is a brief history of radio. So you can know like the foundation. I'm not going to really test you on like names and dates, but it's just good to know where we begin, and that's going to help us get to where we're at now with podcasting. Okay.
Radio. That old dusty thing that sits up at the front of your car or in the corner of your house. Most of us are too occupied with television, our iPods, or video games to really listen to it. But the impact it has had on our world is immense. It all started in 1873 when James Clerk Maxwell showed mathematically that electromagnetic waves could travel through air. Before long, in 1888, Heinrich Hertz demonstrated Maxwell's theory by demonstrating that someone could produce and detect electromagnetic radiation. Then, in 1892, Nikola Tesla used Maxwell's mathematic findings to demonstrate the sending and receiving of radio frequency energy. He proposed that this method could be used for sending and receiving information. But it was Guglielmo Marconi who built the first wireless transmitter in 1896, which was capable of sending signals up to 1.5 miles. He then proceeded to develop the world's first transatlantic radio communication service between Clifton, Ireland, and Newfoundland in 1901. The next evolution in radio technology was the invention of the spark gap transmitter. This device allowed for the production of the first commercially available radio sets. But the spark gap radios were plagued with problems, mainly electrical interference. These were greatly improved with the invention and production of crystal radio sets. The crystal sets were the first widely produced and widely used radio sets in America. These crystal sets were widely used in most American homes by the 1920s. It was the American family's connection to the rest of the country. This was fantastic, but there was still a problem that needed to be fixed. Up to this time, all radio was being broadcast using AM waves. AM stands for amplitude modulation. But the problem was that AM radio is medium range and is prone to be blocked by urban structures. But in 1933, Edwin H. Armstrong invented FM radio. FM stands for frequency modulation. This type of broadcasting method uses a wavelength that is less prone to static and blockage. It also has a longer range. With the invention of FM, radio only needed one more evolution to become what you know today. That last advancement was the transistor radio. The transistor radio had particular advantages over the old crystal sets. The transistor sets were much cheaper than the crystal ones, used less power, had a smaller size, and had a very long lifespan.
All right. So we got that brief history of radio. I got a real question. How many of y'all listen to the radio, like actually listen to the radio when you're in the car? Does anybody listen to the radio at all? No, nobody?
I used to when I used to ride with my dad to work.
Okay, but see, that's mostly your dad, because he's the older generation.
I mean, but I genuinely used to enjoy the Steve Harvey show in the morning. Like,
Okay.
I used to look forward to that sometimes. But me personally, answering your question, nah.
Yeah. So how do you guys absorb your audio now? Is it straight streaming, Apple Music, Tidal? Is it music all the time, or does anybody, do you listen to podcasts while you ride in the car or ride around campus?
Mostly Apple Music.
Apple Music? Okay, okay. So that is the same as far as, I guess as you get into podcasts or as you get into, you know, whatever craft you're in, because there's, like I said, there's podcasts for everything. And the way we absorb audio has changed. So in this video, you saw AM radio. We know that AM is like a weaker signal, and then, you know, FM, right? And then we went to what? XM, which was satellite radio. So we watched the transition, and now we are definitely in a new age of streaming. You guys are living, you know, and I'm just, you guys, me too. We are living through streaming wars, right? It's a new day. Streaming technology and the internet, and eventually, you know, probably another 5-10 years, blockchain will be how we receive everything. And it's how we receive everything now. The same way you stream television is the same way you stream your Apple Music, things of that nature. So we're moving to a new day and age. All right. So with that, back in the day, you know, radio, if you were a country music station, you had to play country music, and, you know, your anchors would talk about, you know, day-to-day stuff and be most likely some country, most likely redneck type of people. But now you can niche in, you know, whatever genre or whatever, you know, area of expertise you want to be without music, you know, without having to have a playlist available. So share my screen. If we go back into the presentation, okay. So like I said, we went to satellite radio, which is your XM radio. And again, that, you know, we really didn't see much of a change as far as culture until we got here to podcasting. What you see going on today, which anybody can do, what we all can do from home. You see these ladies here have a real simple setup, desktop, a couple mics, and you're ready to go. And what I'm going to show you, you know, not even just the mics, you can record yourself through your phone. I had students last semester record themselves, you know, just from their phone. They use apps like Voice Memo, and I will have these apps for you when I give you the assignment to, you know, agenda. But, you know, there's apps on your phone that you can record, and then from there it just comes on editing your podcast to make sure you're telling the story. All right. So new ways to hear. So what we were talking about, streaming. You know, it's so many different ways. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you know, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Overcast. The company or the distributor that I use is called Podbeans, right? And, you know, Podbeans put you on everything, Spotify, you know, Google Play, everywhere that you want to be. So it's new ways to receive audio, but audio is still a major part of our day. You know, you guys mentioned like listening to the Steve Harvey morning show. That is something that I do. I used to listen to the Steve Harvey morning show. You got Ricky Smiley in the morning. You know, out here in LA, you got Nick Cannon in the morning, even though he had got kicked off for what he has said earlier this year about Jews, and then now, you know, they brought him back in. So radio is still a major thing. The secret about it, though, most places, or I say most communities where you see radio still thriving, are more lower income communities. So why is that? Think about people that can't necessarily afford the new car that has satellite radio, the new car that has Bluetooth, so that you can, you know, play whatever selection of music that you want. Think about those people who can't afford Apple Music, even though it's like $9 a month, or they can't afford, you know, those extra features. They still listen to the radio. So, and that's something that I realized firsthand while working for 107.5 and Rock 92. One of the things we used to say in the meetings, in our promo meetings, Seeker, is that like our crowd is the Walmart crowd. And not knocking Walmart, I'm a faithful Walmart goer, but when we talk about like, again, like lower communities, people who, listen to the radio faithfully because that's all they can, they have trouble putting their phone on. And when we had these events, when we had these live events, you would really, see the communities that you're reaching. So radio, is it slowly fading away? Yes, it's definitely changing. But, audio and the people hearing things is never going to go away, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. So let me back up out of here. All right, so what I want to do as well is show you, we got about 9 minutes. The other part of our project. So matter of fact, let me just show you what you guys will be doing. So what you guys are going to be doing, you have basically the option of doing a podcast for this next assignment. It's not due next week because next week we're going to get into the software, Adobe Premiere. All right, so if you have not, I will send you a reminder, but for our first project, you downloaded Photoshop. Keep Photoshop, keep that, because you're still going to need to use it to complete this project. But you also will need to download Adobe Premiere. That is how you're going to be editing your audio for this particular project. All right, or After Effects. Illustrator, which I'll show you. I'll show you your two options next week when we get into the software of really practicing and hands-on in class. This again is just an introduction, so you guys know what you're doing, have an idea, can go ahead and start thinking about what you want to do. So let me show you Mrs. Hadaya Omar's project. She actually did the picture story, okay? So what that means is we heard her audio and she made pictures reference her audio, okay? Just like you said. So if I'm watching the news, right, we call this referencing. If I'm watching the news and the news anchor says there was a massive 18-car crash on I-40 and outside of Greensboro, blah, 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 blah. I should see on my screen, at least a highway with the car crash or a whole lot of police cars, referencing, seeing on screen what I hear, okay? So that's what the audio picture story is. And this was hers.
Hey guys, my name is Hadia Teresa Ade Omar. My name actually means a gift from God. I am a 21-year-old graduating senior at North Carolina A&T State University. My motto is live life to the fullest. In the midst of everything that goes on in life, and especially now, I feel that it is extremely important to always plan activities. And when I say activities, I mean things like horseback riding, zip lining, kayaking, all types of adventures. I love getting people out of their comfort zone, especially my friends and family. I get this adventurous spirit from my mom and my grandfather. Growing up, we always had fun activities planned, whether it was a nature walk, going out fishing, going to the lake, bonfires. We always had activities. Currently now, during this life-changing pandemic, I feel as if it is so important, extremely important for all of us to find positive outlets in order to relieve stress. And I found myself planning many activities for me and my friends to stay sane during this time.
Awesome, good. So what you saw there was a picture audio story, okay? That was the picture audio story. What I'm going to show you now, we had a few students do podcasts. All right, so
hey.
Yeah, so check out this podcast.
Hey, it is your host, homegirl, friend, bestie, and confidant, Kai, and I'm your host of the Chill Talk podcast. Welcome. How are y'all doing? I just wanted to come basically today and spread some good vibes, good positive energy in the atmosphere today. Have y'all ever looked around y'all and thought, dang, everyone around me is getting what they're striving for? they getting their blessings, where's mine? We have to get out this mindset and focus on us. Don't focus on what everybody else got going on, because it doesn't have anything directly to do with you. And think about it like this. If everybody is getting blessings around you, that just means God is blessing in your neighborhood. That means there's only a amount of time before that blessing is knocking on your door. The question is, are you going to open it? Focusing on other people and what they got going on only distracts you from the blessing God is giving you. And that's a word. But all right, y'all, I just wanted to spread positive energy, positive vibes, and make sure you keep listening for your knock, y'all. Thanks for chilling with me.
All right. So, class, anybody, what did you like about this brief podcast from Miss Carter?
I liked it. I think it was a good use of like tone, especially considering what her like podcast was called. It made sure it matched, what she was like intended to do for the podcast.
Awesome.
I'd like to co-sign. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mr.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to say I can't remember exactly who was speaking just now, but I like to co-sign what she had said, saying that the tone of the girl's voice and the type of background sound she chose to have, like just everything went well with the way that the picture is. It all kind of just is a chill. I don't know what word to use, but I feel like it all goes together. Following, as she said, with the name of her podcast.
Awesome. Great observations. You guys spoke on some things that are key to doing well in this project, right? So Ms. Carter did a great job all the way around. You said the tone of her voice fit her, this is called the chill talk, right? So her voice seemed very chill, right? Her music, it sounded like elevator music, right? That doom, 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 real pump, put you at ease. That music, her putting that music under, that's called a bed. Okay, that's one of the vocabulary words on the sheet. It's called a bed. So you don't have to have music the whole way through, right? You can have music at the beginning and just have it at the end, but you do want to have that music, that extra sound, and it engages people. If you notice, and you may not know, this is a secret as far as, video production, movie production, television production, the music carries everything, right? The music carries, when you see a sad scene, that scene's not going to be that sad unless you hear that music behind it. That music brings your emotions out, right? So being smart about what music you have in the background. Now, why is Photoshop still important for this project? Well, she designed this, right? You can make, for the podcast, if you don't have a picture story, you're going to have to design your podcast cover, all right? That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to design your podcast cover. So Ms. Carter, all the way around, she did a great job on that. Let me see if I got another one. I know I do. Let's see.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
My dad's beating my mom.
Is that your mother screaming in the background?
Yeah, she is. My dad's trying to beat her.
Okay, we'll get someone out there. Stay where you are. They'll be there as soon as they can. I'm going to stay on the phone with you, okay?
The 911 call you just heard is one of many calls reported each day regarding domestic violence. There are more than 20,000 phone calls placed to the domestic violence hotline nationwide. Domestic violence has always been an underrated crime, as it mostly happens behind closed doors, resulting in many cases never being reported. Domestic violence is physical or psychological abuse that can affect anyone of any age, gender, race, or sexual orientation. Do you know approximately 29% of women and 10% of men fall victim to domestic violence sometime in their lifetime? That means 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. In the U.S. alone, as many as 24 people a minute become the victim of stalking, physical attacks, or rape. That makes up.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop it here. Just off that little bit of portion, can you tell me what you like about her project? Anybody?
Well, I think the topic was a really important thing to cover because it's something that happens so much in society. And her tone when, describing the pictures was very serious, which is fitting to the topic because, it's not a joking matter at all.
Yes, very true, Miss Woodward. Woodward. Basically, she picked a great subject, and I don't want to say a great subject like domestic violence isn't great, but it was a great subject because it was something different. A lot of students they did like pretty much about me again, like we did about me project, and then they did about me again. She switched it up and did a focusing subject. So like you said, the tone, the music she chose went well. That's what we're talking about again. That music. If you're talking about if you got a high energy podcast and it's like athletic, then your music should be more high. This right here is more mellow tone, slow paced. And what she did do well more here at this part of the video was she referenced the things that you heard. So she said 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have been victims of physical violence. We see it on our screen, right? The next, the shot right after that, or the shot before that, was another statistic. We saw that. The only thing, I told her about her project is that she left this picture right here. She left this up way too long, right? Because even if she chose to do a picture story, okay? Not the podcast. So this is like a PSA picture story. So especially, our attention spans with TikTok and Instagram, everything is so much shorter now, right? So, a lot of these pictures should have been moving along fast.
Yeah, she is. My dad's trying to beat her.
Okay, we'll get someone out there. Stay where you are. They'll be.
There are more than 20,000 phone calls placed to the domestic violence hotline nationwide.
That's good too. 20,000 phone calls, we see the reference, right?
Domestic violence has always been an underrated crime as it mostly happens behind closed doors, resulting in many cases never being reported. Domestic violence is physical or psychological abuse that can affect anyone of any age, gender, race, or sexual orientation.
So I let her get that section out. There, I would have changed the picture, okay? Because you want to keep it moving, right? If you guys watch a lot of music videos, even now music videos, they're quick now, so much transition. And that's just because the way people absorb things now on the phone, everything's so fast. So you do want to make sure if you do the picture story, have enough pictures to reference what you're talking about, okay? And again, you see this in like, news projects all the time, or news packages. What's being said, you see it on the screen, okay? What's being said, you see it on the screen. So that was another one. Let's see if we can, we'll minimize hers. All right, so this was last year. I did 50 of the best podcasts from last year, 2020. And we saw, we got 16, 19. This was more of a historical one. This one right here, I like 2 black girls, 1 rose. So what I want you guys to pay attention to, for those of you, and use this week, I'm reviewing the project, I'm reviewing what we get into. Next week, we're gonna get into Adobe Premiere, the software, and then I'll even, I don't have to, but if there's something that you guys want to know about Photoshop, I'll go back. But next week it's more so getting into Premiere so you guys can really get in and start editing, okay? But if you are working on, right now, you already made your mindset, for this project, I'm gonna do a podcast sample. Well, for your project, you're gonna need to design a cover, okay? So for these girls, they did 2 black girls, 1 rose, all right? What do we see? 2 black girls, roses in the middle. They got the Bachelor. Now, I don't know why the Bachelor logo is there. I don't know, I would probably need to listen more to find out. But this is their cover art. This is what people are going to see when they're looking for you on Apple Podcasts or Google Play. We go down, look at this, American Fiasco, okay? I'm not even sure what their whole topic is about. Let's look it up, okay? Men in Blazers co-host Roger revisits the U.S. men's soccer team catastrophic bid for the 1998 World Cup. Yeah, so it fits what they were talking about, okay? We're talking about the World Cup. You see a guy under a big soccer ball, American Fiasco, creative design, right? Same thing, the argument, okay? News and politics. The Trump era has ushered a host of excellent political podcasts. So this is a political podcast. You see the eye in the middle, the argument. You know, that's an interesting logo design, but it's just look at, you know, the different designs that you see from these podcast covers, okay? That is something that, other than just the content, you want to make sure that it hits. So one that I want to share, that I shared with the class last time, was this Freaknik podcast, Atlanta Freaknik. I like their whole logo here, right? You got the font in a nice font, bold color, blue, with the shadow behind it. And you got all these images from, you know, during that time in animation, in animated form. Let's just listen to the beginning of this. I'm not gonna listen to the whole thing, but I want you to hear how, like, some people intro the different type of way of intro. You just don't have to say, hi, my name is Bill, and this is the da-da-da. Think about, creative ways to get your podcast started.
The way I see it, Freaknik was this magical place that embodied Blackness in every sense of the word. As you heard from many different folks along this journey, the political foundations of Atlanta and its educational infrastructure sort of gave way to an environment in which Freaknik could actually go down. For a while it worked, and it was a place for young kids to blow off steam and connect with one another. It was popping, but as it grew and grew, it became uncouth, and it was almost inevitable that Freaknik, as it once was, and as what it became, had to come to an end.
We could have had the largest free African American.
All right, so right there, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna ask and see how you guys are absorbing this. What did you hear about this podcast and what did you like? Because that was only 45 seconds, but what did you like about this podcast and what did you not like? What did you like?
I liked how they kind of, you know, more so went over the highlights of Freaknik, like kind of gave it background information, and then you hear the music kind of change, and so now they're going to get into like, okay, well, what happened? Like, why isn't Freaknik something that we really have today in the African American community?
Yes, Jay, you answered that perfectly. In less than 45 seconds, you can see right here, 45 seconds, before the first minute is even done, without him saying, hey, my name is blah, 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 he was able to paint a picture in your mind of what Freaknik is, the history of it very quickly, and that it ended, right? So you got the who, what, when, where, all in 45 seconds, okay? And you know, this whole podcast right here is 42 minutes. Your projects are gonna be 30 seconds to a minute, right? So you're gonna have to make sure that you're clear on the message, okay? That's always with journalism, no matter what, no matter where you take it, what form, whether it's an Instagram post, whether it's a TikTok, whether it's a flyer for an event, whether it's a news package, whatever, in all the forms of media, you got to answer that question: who, what, when, where, and why, right? And the thing that I liked about the intros of this is that he did an excellent job in giving you so much in 45 seconds, okay? So that's definitely something you want to, you know, keep in mind when, you know, thinking about your project. So I'm gonna give you the details to your project again next week. You know what I mean? Don't fret, don't worry. But this is something that you really want to start kind of honing in on. Do I want to do a picture story? What story do I want to tell? You know, that's really, you know, your main main assignment. And then with this one, you will be reviewing this with your classmates and doing a journal on this one. Okay, so that would be a little bit different. And of course, like every project we do, I will select a few of you to present. All right, so make sure you put your best effort. Remember that this is part of your portfolio. Everything we're doing here, you know, you should be doing the best you can to use it for your portfolio. Any questions?